All right, we are ready for Tanya and Clark. I think they're both going to speak to us today. Thank you for filling in. So good of them.
That song, I Release and I Let Go. Oh, first, can you hear me okay, Sigrid? You said not to get too close to the mic.
Who said that? Oh, am I good here? You can hear me through there? Because
I think you are
and they can hear us
good.
here is why they wanted us to use the microphone. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, and they're still here,
Good
huh?
morning
Yeah.
online. So that song, I Release and I Let Go, that song was my anthem when I went through the story that I've told about my children being overseas. And I don't know if you know, but the beginning of it is, there was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the face of God was sufficient, didn't know the love of God was at hand. So I can tell you, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. This is what we have to say. So it's a beautiful song, and like I said, that was my anthem. So I was asked to fill in, which I kind of did last time too, and I kind of felt like I didn't do as good of a job filling in at the last moment. But you know, the universe never says no to me, so how can I say no to it?
Yay.
So I said, sure, I'll fill in. And then they said, well, we need a title, and I said, go with the flow. Right? That could cover anything. So that was the title, Go with the Flow. So then I was not coming up with anything. I thought, this is going to evolve authentically. Let's see what happens. And about the third day, nothing was coming up. And I don't know if you know, but I took on a new job. Did I tell you that? Yeah, I don't know how to say no. So I'm retired, believe it or not. I retired from being a teacher, ESL teacher for adults. And less than a year of moving here, my favorite coffee shop closed their doors. And I said, no, we have to buy this coffee shop and keep it going. So we bought this coffee shop. So that is a 24/7 job. Well, then I went into a radio station to make an ad for the coffee shop back in November, December. And they said, would you like your own radio show? You can be a DJ, we'd love to have you. I thought they were joking, I really did, I thought they were joking. But I said, sure, why not? Well, a month later, they called me and they said, all right, you're on, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I said, but I have no experience. I said, we'll train you. So that's what I'm doing now, along with a coffee shop. So, as you can see, I tend to go with the flow, right?
What coffee shop is this?
Taos Java is our coffee shop.
Shameless plug.
It's right next to Walmart.
Right next to Walmart, and the radio station is The Mountain, 95.9. I'm kind of changing the music on board so everyone can enjoy it, but it's only for those 4 hours, Monday through Friday.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm learning to go with the flow. So nothing was coming up though for this talk, and then I found myself in the company of a very nice person who was venting to me. They were venting the struggles that they were going through. And this was happening one day, and it happened a second day, and by the third day, I'm a good listener. I pride myself on being a good listener. But by the third day, I found myself participating in the negative talk. And I was a little shocked. I mean, in the moment, I was, oh yeah, I agree, and But then on the way home, I thought, that's not me. I kind of felt guilty and like, ooh, I can't take those words back. What did I just do? And that's when it hit me. The flow isn't always positive. I fell into his flow. Wasn't his fault. I have full control of myself. But I got sucked in to his flow. And I didn't like it. And it's kind of like the news. That's why I stay away from the news. Sure, I'll read headlines and I'll keep updated. But if I turn on the news, I can find myself getting sucked into that flow that I don't want to be a part of. Because I'm often asked, how do you stay so positive? Well, that's how. I don't watch the news. I don't participate usually in negative talk. doesn't mean that you can't have your negative thoughts, and I can have my negative thoughts. But I've learned to kind of keep in alignment with Spirit so that I don't radiate that negativity. Before I start or go on, do you want to say anything to that?
I tend to also say yes, and I don't know where that comes from exactly. I have also learned that it's okay to say no, yet I still keep saying yes to things. Spirit always says yes, right? Spirit always says yes, so you have to be careful with what it is that you are putting out there. So, Tanya and I are both religious science ministers or New Thought ministers, and when she was talking about that, I remembered there was one of our practitioners. I was doing practitioner work in our church, and a gal from another church called and said, "Hey, there's a ministerial program starting, and I'm interested in doing it, and I thought of you. Are you interested in doing it?" And I said, "Well, I've taken all the classes. I'm a practitioner. The next step is to become a minister." So I said, yes. She says, "Okay, Thursday, meet me there." So I went, and she wasn't there. But I had already signed up and everything, and she just didn't participate.
She wasn't ready.
So when we moved here, I retired as a paramedic. She retired as a teacher. People said, "Are you going to work in the field at all?" And I said, No, I'm retired. I'm not. Well, recently somebody said, "Hey, I have to leave early from a dinner we were at," and she says, "I'm practicing a swim test. I'm going to become a lifeguard." And she said, "I thought of you being an ex-paramedic. Maybe you would like to do this because the Family, Youth, and Recreation Center needs lifeguards so they can't open the pool." And I said, "Well, I'm interested in," she says, "I'm looking to do it once or twice a week." So I went down and got the application and filled it out. I haven't done an application in 50 years, but I took the swim test, which about put me under literally, but lo and behold, I passed it. And then I had an application or an interview with the town of Taos to become a lifeguard. So now it appears she's going to be a disc jockey and I'm going to be a retired lifeguard. So come and swim with me.
The woman that invited him to participate, she has put it on hold. So learn, he doesn't say no easily to women, just like when I asked him, "You know what, you're going to have to participate in this talk with me," because
I saw my picture online. That was a wedding picture when I was scrolling, and I said, "Oh, I'm doing a talk with you someday." When she was talking with me about going with the flow, and I thought about swimming in the ocean with the riptide, so you got pulled in. Because when she was talking with me about getting pulled in to the negative, when you feel the riptide, y'all know what you're supposed to do?
Let go.
Because you want to try to go towards the shore, that's where it's safe, but you're supposed to turn around, right, and go with the flow, which seems to be pulling against you. And it may be, but yeah, you have to be in it for a while until you have the wisdom and the knowledge and the ability to know to go this way and then out to the safety. So the going with the flow has a lot of different things, so go ahead.
So he helped me evolve on this, and I was telling him about how I was listening to this ranting, and then all of a sudden I was participating. So he gave me more of an idea how to go with this. So we came up with, through his help, there is a philosophy, a practice, an art, which is to use your opponent's force against the opponent rather than confronting it with your own force. It mirrors life in being a constant struggle, yet it teaches mental discipline, which can be applied to all areas of life and can help you become stronger as a person by cultivating inner peace and harmony, deeper self-awareness, intuition, and empathy, which translates into more effective communication with others and a more fulfilling life. It involves developing mental resilience and awareness. It teaches us to face adversity with resilience, patience, and humility. Does this sound familiar? Do you know what practice, what art?
What philosophy? What did that sound like to you? I think I think I saw Zach.
And we want this to be interactive, so feel free to raise your hand, speak up. Yes.
I say Aikido is one possibility. I think there's probably more philosophies than that, but Aikido.
Yes, what were you thinking, Zach?
Very good, he said Aikido.
Buddhism.
Buddhism, yes, and that goes with it, yes, you're both correct.
Yes, and when she was talking about getting sucked in, and I was thinking of, well, to deflect. She needed to deflect that energy that she knew she was absorbing, to deflect it. And I thought of this, you in jujitsu or the martial arts, a buddy of mine told me, he says, if I go to hit you like this, he says, what are you gonna do? And I went like this. And he says, yeah, but where are you out here? All you need to do is go to here. And that deflected. So you don't have to go huge. You just have to know if there's a stimulus, bob and weave, okay? And yet some people might think that martial arts is to fight, right? Fight. They want to learn to fight, and we have heard fight, and then turned into talking with Tanya about fight or flight. Those are prime brain things, primal responses to fight or flight. And flight doesn't need to be to run away. In talking about this, I'm reminded of Kung Fu, Kwai Chang Caine, the television show Kung Fu. And I liked it as we were young kids. We liked the fight scenes, you know. You do? Good. Well, he would, and it's always the same. And you always know it's going to come, but Kwai Chang Caine, he was taught how to use his mind and his heart. And he went from town to town, and all he always said is, I would like food and water, and I will help you. And there was always the guys in the town that say, hey, you don't look like us, and you don't belong here, and here it comes. We always knew it. And he would say, I don't want any problems. I'm working things out. And some guy would attack him, and what he would do, he would just step out of the way, and the guy would hit the dust. Another guy would come, and he would move, and he was forced to use what he learned after he used what he learned to explain and to talk about it. He wasn't fighting. He was simply using the energy that was coming at him and deflecting. So I think in Tanya and I, what we have learned in our spiritual teachings is to use our power that we have, and mostly the power of thoughts and the power of prayer, or utilizing the power that is for ourselves.
And we do, I have to admit, without going there, I do have to admit, we have been, I don't like the word accused, but we have been talked to that you need to speak up more, you need to stand up for this, because I won't participate in political talk. I just won't, for my own reasons. And no one knows where I stand, and yet I have still been verbally challenged because I don't speak out. And I met a lovely woman the other day, well, I know her, and she was talking to me, and she, oh, we have to fight. And I said, well, fight is conflict. Typically. And I'm a true believer in the law of attraction. What we put out there, we attract. I'm not ready, and I'm not ever going to be ready to put out conflict. That's just not my way. I don't expect everyone to take my stand. I don't expect everyone to understand my stance. And yet, in the same sense, I can honor your stance. If your stance is different, I have no problem doing that. So with practitionership and jiu-jitsu and all martial arts and Buddhism, because Buddhism is tied very much into that, we learn mental resilience, which refers to the ability to bounce back from setbacks. Boy, can I speak on that. Haven't I spoke on that? Stay focused under pressure and maintain a positive mindset, regardless of the challenges faced. Respect, discipline, and honor are deeply ingrained in this practice, encouraging us to treat everyone with respect and maintain a sense of integrity. which in turn creates a supportive and inclusive environment. And that is what our teachings are about, all inclusivity. I mean, you think of the Last Supper, right? Everyone was invited to the table, those that showed up, but they didn't say, well, everyone but this guy, right? So we have to be very mindful, not only our word, but what we put out there. We quiet our minds and tune out distractions, allowing ourselves to remain fully present in the moment. And by doing so, we stay present and avoid worrying about future outcomes. Because I get asked that, how can you not worry? Because I'm staying present and I'm trusting. Through adversity, we learn to overcome fears, insecurities, and limitations, leading to a heightened sense of self-awareness and a more peaceful state of mind, cultivating enlightenment and inner peace. Was I frightened when they put me on the radio? They put me on the radio my second day. Oh, heck yes. Yeah, I had no idea. And not only are you speaking naturally, but you're also running 4 different technology boards and computers, and it's like, I told Clark the second day, I don't want to go. I don't want to go back. And then I realized, wait a minute, when I went into teaching, it was the same thing. I remember sitting in the parking lot of the school just crying, I don't want to teach. I don't want to go in there. And I ended up being was a shadow, I had a young autistic teenager shadow me, and it was the most fulfilling several months I spent there. It was such a gift, I kept giving thanks. Before that, a flight attendant, went through the schooling, they put me on a jet. I don't want to do this. No, I'm going home. I can't do this. But something inside of me said, don't flight. Or maybe it did say flight, but I stayed present. And I didn't run home. And I went to the job, and it was a fantastic job I did for a year. So I'm a gypsy by nature doing jobs. I get bored and have to change every 5 years, as you can see. But I listened to my heart, to my intuition. Even though the fear was there, I learned to trust and go with the positive flow. You have anything to add to that?
When I was doing that swim test, and I went in cold, I didn't know. Oh, she says, you just swim 300 yards, and then you go and you dive down, you pick something. I didn't know how long 300 yards was. But as I was doing it, I was swimming and swimming. You could swim freestyle or the breaststroke. And who does the breaststroke? I just swam and swam. And I really, I was starting to think, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I started thinking, mind over matter. Mind over matter. Right? We've heard of it, yet it is very powerful. We believe in our teachings, change your thoughts, change your life. And I was swimming, I didn't have anything to do but breathe and swim. And I kept thinking, you can do this. It's just up and back, up and back, up and back. And when she said halfway, I was so relieved. But I pictured myself being done. A mental equivalent. Imagine when you were singing the Imagine song, I thought of that. Imagine. You have to have a mental equivalent of what you want. Not to picture what you don't want, but I pictured myself being done with it, and I finished. There was fear because I was thinking, I'm getting my Medicare next month, and I thought people have heart attacks sweeping or snow shoveling. I think, did I go into this? So there was some fear, which is false. What is it?
False evidence.
False evidence of hearing real.
Hearing real.
So I thought, okay, this is, I can do this. So the mental equivalent helped me, and I was done.
I'm going to tell you about a really scary time in my life. So I was attending, I was a flight attendant, and my mom, I was in Portland, and she was in California. She says, there's this church, kind of strange, like you would be into. You wanna come check it out? So next time I was home, I went and visited, and it was a religious science center. And this handsome guy walked in, and I thought, man, he looks like trouble. And all the young women were hot after him, and I don't compete. It's like, staying away from him.
Oh, I was wondering who she was talking about.
And people at the center, within about 2 months of you being there, they told me, oh, how long have you and Clark been together? I said, who? I said, that new guy, Clark. I said, no, I know his mom real well, but no, I don't, we're not together. 3 different times people saw us together. So I think our energies were so evident. And then he joined the choir as an alto, which what I was. I thought, man,
Tenor,
Was it tenor?
tenors, yeah, I'm a tenor.
tenor.
Yeah, you're a tenor.
oh, guess I am a tenor. And I thought, man, I can't get rid of this guy. What is up with him? And then he started talking about his partner. So I said, oh, okay, he's gay. I knew it wasn't, there wasn't a chance. Well, he was talking about his ambulance partner. Needless to say, he invited me up to see his lyrics in a song, and
My
the rest
etchings.
is history. But again, there was the fear. I did not want to get in a relationship, and I had already said I'm not dating for a year. But thankfully, he was persistent, and 21 years later, we're still together?
Good.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a good thing to let go of fear, letting go. Oh, so what I wanted to say was, we emphasize as practitioners, as martial artists, we emphasize the importance as Buddhists of being present in the moment, letting go of attachments, and finding harmony within oneself. You talked about inner harmony. And the surrounding world, letting go of ego, surrendering to the flow of light. Surrendering to the flow of fight, and finding stillness in the midst of chaos. By embracing these principles of balance, adaptability, and mindfulness, we navigate the challenges of life with grace and composure. For example, well, let me say this. We practice what's called the gentle way, flowing with things. The pine fought the storm and broke. The willow yielded to the wind and snow and did not break.
Yeah, Tanya found that about the storm that broke the pine, the pine rigid thoughts and the weight of, and the wind, and you know, even if we think we're rigid in things, it's going to break. It may, you know, to be so rigid, and I like the analogy of the going, like the willow. It's more flexible, and like at the wind, or if the wind blows it, it just flows, and the snow on it just flows. And I thought of water off a duck's back. You know, you could be water, you could be the duck, or you could be a sponge. And when she was talking to me about getting sucked into this, and she was the sponge, and she was holding it, and the weight is just, it's going to sink, you know, there.
Does anyone have any comments or questions, even
Well,
online?
I'd just like to say briefly that I think it all goes back to the spiritual life or spiritual practice that which is really non-resistance in itself.
So for those, I don't know if they can
Oh,
hear,
okay.
Thomas is talking about spiritual practice of non-resistance.
And whatever it is for each of us, whether it's meditation or whether it's prayer or whether it's devotion, you know, it takes so many forms.
Sure.
But it opens so many doors. So many doors.
Right, whether prayer, meditation,
Whatever it becomes.
spiritual tool we use.
Yeah, it opens all these doors for us.
Opens doors.
You know, it might be holistic medicine.
Mhm.
Holistic medicine, you're right,
And,
yes.
look at the doors it's open.
The door's open.
Look at the doors it's open for you two.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? And I
Yes.
You think we were teenagers, right? We're ready to retire.
Zach, you had something?
I did have something to say, and then when you were talking about the willow, it made me think of how it gives a different meaning of the word give. When
Give.
something gives,
Okay.
it's an interesting
Mhm.
play on that word. But the thing that I was thinking of is you're talking about martial arts, and martial arts is defensive. Martial arts is not about fighting, it's about defending and really avoiding fighting.
Yes.
And defensive driving, you know, is going with the flow, and to keep in mind that flow includes a defensive posture and paying attention it's not just blindly moving
Exactly.
forward. There's a consciousness involved in moving forward
Yes.
in both assertive and receptive, passive, defensive.
Very good, yes,
There-
absolutely.
There, with our fight or flight, there are different ways to fight, right? And there are different ways to flight. Like Tanya said, instead of running away, go within. Think about it. You know, there is a space between the stimulus and the reaction. There's a space in there. And once there's a stimulus or a button pushed, what a gift that a button was pushed. Yet there has to be a space in between for our thoughts, our intuition, our compassion, our before we react or respond. And I think that is, it's not easy. These teachings are not mamby-pamby. Like, oh, everything is just la la land in your world, or everything is well, it not necessarily. It takes work. It takes the energy to be aware of the stimulus and the reaction, the cause, and then the effect.
Right, are you going to have a knee-jerk reaction, or are you going to go into that space and really find how you want to respond versus react? Sigrid?
Well, I'm just thinking you have to pay attention to your gut. I had a recent thing, the back room in my house went empty and I was still cleaning it, and somebody came and suddenly said, would you consider letting me live in your back room? And I said yes immediately, and then I was sort of shocked about it, but I kept checking my gut, and that's where you get the backup. That's where you get the validation of, and it's just a miracle. It's just the most wonderful housemate. We're we just flow. I thank God for it every day. And I didn't know this person at all, That's like, I'm thinking of that as an example of what you're talking about. But if my gut had, I trust that my gut might have pushed against the decision. I trust that that's guidance. Then you have guidance. You go with the flow, but you've got to listen to guidance also.
In all situations, no matter how desperate they appear, one always has the ultimate freedom to choose their attitude. So when looking to change a situation, I had some notes here. First, we're challenged to change ourselves. Everyone has their own intuition, their own gut feelings. Everyone has their own perspective. Like, this is the same as this. It's just looking at it a different way. And I think it's important for us to, when we're challenged to realize there is different opinions, and we don't have to agree with them, but we can listen, like you said, to be a good listener. We can listen this way, but in our head, inside we could be saying this.
Did anyone online have a question or comment? Ignore them.
Yes, you guys can unmute if you have a question or comment, and I will.
Oh, Shelley's there. Hi, Shelley.
Oh, Betsy, do you want to say something? Nope. She was there for a second, and then she went away.
So
I like this
oh, yes.
idea of give that I was mentioning, when you're talking about not necessarily agreeing, that's giving too, to listen.
Absolutely, and people have trouble understanding that. They almost kind of lump you in with, oh, you're agreeing with them. Not necessarily. I'm giving. I'm allowing them where they are, and I'll change their mind later. No, I'm kidding. I won't change their mind later. So a good example, yes,
I had a lady in the Albertsons follow me around one day, trying
Wow.
to convert me to be born
again?
She,
Converts you to what?
she was rather persistent. We started out in the vegetable bin and ended up in the orange juice. And she was still there. And she just, and I just wasn't sure how to handle her. I wanted to be nice to her and kind to her. And,
What was she trying to convert you to?
well, she said, she
Convert.
started out with, says, do you know Jesus?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And I responded spontaneous, well, I know all those guys. And oh my gosh, she was something, but she eventually left me alone and went on my way. But I was nice to her. And I appreciated her. I mean, in my heart, I appreciated her position and her conviction.
Yeah.
She had a lot of conviction. She come up to a total stranger and try to rebirth them.
There is an art to being able to say, I want to hear what your thoughts are, and try to convince me, convince me on what your thoughts are and your actions on that. I don't have to do anything but listen. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
So going with the flow. So a perfect example, this morning, we were talking about how this was going to evolve. So thank you for being patient, because it was very just naturally unfolding. And then I get a call. The coffee shop is out of bacon breakfast burritos. I said, I gotta be somewhere in an hour. And okay, let me get dressed. I'll run down there. And I thought, this is a perfect example of going with the flow. I had an apron, I had a hairnet, and making these burritos as fast as I can. And I thought, wow, this is an answer, actually, because we have been slow, thanks to the lack of snow. I think the whole town has been slow, and this was spring break. But I thought, well, I am so grateful business has picked up. And I'll just whip out what I can, and I'm on my way. I thought, oh, my hair is still up, so I'm like taking my hair down, trying to get here. But there's a lot of positivity that can come from going with the flow. So I know we're running out of time, but Clark recommended I look up the philosopher Epictetus. I hope I said it right. He was born nearly 2,000 years ago in Turkey as a slave in a wealthy household. And my favorite quote, I mean, it's my mantra, and I knew this before I read it from him, but it was a perfect quote. He said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master."
Oh.
He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him.
Or her.
Or. So I just want, and I'll let you finish, Clark, but I just want to leave you with, it's really not that difficult to love everyone. And once we're able to love everyone, we can all live as one. And I'll let Clark wrap up.
There was another one that she had here that I really liked, and it says it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That space in between, I think, is between what triggers you and your reactions.
That's where the grace is. It
Yes.
can be. The grace can be.
And it's thoughts. Thoughts become our prayers. Everything is a thought, everything is a prayer. And when we get that button pushed, then there's a challenge to remember to go within and not react, but respond. And so it is.
Gratitude. So
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Last week, I went down to Silver City to do a concert, so I wasn't here. And it was interesting, everything you're talking about, because these lifelong friends of mine who I've always felt very on the same level with were having very different experiences with what's going on. And I just did, I just listened, because I love these people. They're my friends, I love them. And even though internally I was like, I'm not really following that logic, but I love you. And I just, when I left, I just said, thank you for your friendship and your hospitality, and I love you. And it works.
It does.
It works.
Thank you, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm still a little perplexed, but oh well.